Forestry in Ontario begins the 21st century much better than it did the 20th. Legislation has finally caught up with good forest practice and put forest health first. We now know more than ever about forest ecology and forest processes, and that knowledge continues to grow and be transferred to forest practice. Modern harvest methods allow us to get more from less while having less impact. By doing a better job of matching the type and extent of disturbance to the site conditions, we do a better job of sustaining natural forest processes and productivity. The efficiency of the harvest is improving as the forest industry adopts new practices and technologies. In the past, changes in our understanding of forests were one factor that drove improvements in forest practice. The challenges we face now make continued research and technological development even more important.
The Petawawa Research Forest is Canada's oldest and largest federally run research forest, so we're essentially 100 years old. And that's a really important message, that the idea that you can't buy time in forestry or forestry research. You need to consider that some of the silvics of the tree species that we're dealing with are hundreds of years. So some of the research here at the PRF, because of its legacy and its age, is irreplaceable and unique in that respect.
So I'm here looking at the impact of different silviculture treatments on two things. We're looking at the long-term impact on the possible development of weedy recalcitrant species that could act as competitors against white pine. And we're also looking at these same silviculture treatments and how do they have an impact on the plant community, so specifically understory vegetation.
Detailed knowledge of our forests and how they are changing over time is essential for good management decisions. Walking and knowing the forest was and still is the foundation of good forestry. At the same time, foresters have always adapted new technologies to gather and interpret information. Both advanced data interpretation and ground-based observation and experience will be needed to meet the challenges of the future.
The enhanced forest inventory that we've been doing lately at the Petawawa Research Forest, we've become a real hub for this. So we have LiDAR flights from 2007, 2012, 2016, some terrestrial LiDAR and point cloud collection as well, plus the UAV LiDAR. So it's really sort of sophisticating how we know about the forest, because inventory is always a big challenge. What do we have out there? And it sounds like a simple thing, but it really isn't.
Well, LiDAR, for instance, it's basically lasers that are shot down at the earth very quickly and in rapid succession that bounce back to sensors or receptors in, say, a plane or a helicopter, or it could be an unmanned aerial vehicle, a drone. And the technology looks at the distances or the time the time that it took for the light to bounce back, and it can measure distance very, very accurately. And what you get with the computer integrated with that LiDAR system is a very accurate three-dimensional cloud. It gives you a really good idea, and it can enhance your understanding and your inventory of the forest.
At the same time, it still requires interpretation when you come back, and there are still things that those technologies currently can't see. They can't assess quality very well. They don't see diseases very well. They don't check in terms of whether you've witnessed an invasive insect as you're walking through that stand. So in terms of boots on the ground, for the foreseeable future, I think that that's still going to be required.
Meeting the challenges of the future also means research into new uses of wood and its byproducts, to decrease our reliance on non-renewable resources and reduce our carbon footprint.
The goal of our research is to introduce low carbon materials in the bioeconomy, in the modern economic system, where We range from products from food processing industry down to aviation industry.
There are many new and different uses of wood from the forest, such as nanocrystalline cellulose, which has applications in aeronautics, thermoplastics, as components in cars, the bioenergy component.
And as you move forward, more and more invention will happen because the functionalizations of this material becoming very important. More functionalized you can make it conductive, you can make it optically active, you can make it transparent, you can make it opaque, magnetic.
And thinking about traditional uses such as wood for construction, architects are suddenly reawakening to the wonderful world of making buildings dominated by wood.
Forestry is the vanguard in humanity's efforts against climate change. We're well positioned and well suited to be the building material of choice throughout the next couple centuries. Wood has a lower carbon footprint than every other building material out there. It's completely renewable, it's completely sustainable, it's fantastic.
1 cubic meter of wood cut and transformed into flooring or banisters or walls is the equivalent of removing 1 ton of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere compared to if we were using steel or concrete.
Our goal is to not actually disturb the ecosystem. So what we try to do is we like to see where we can get the byproducts, which are already coming out from the industry, and how we can use that to make something which will replace a non-renewable material. So what we are trying to do is looking at where the demands would be and how we can mitigate that demand, by using those not resources but those byproducts that are coming out in the system. So this is a unique way to bring, forest product industry a new model of sustainability where they can meet the demand of the future electronic industry, housing industry, transportation industry, and all about that.
This increased reliance on forest products will challenge the goal of sustainability, just at a time when external factors are adding challenges to forest management. Climate change itself will affect forest composition and distribution. At the same time, alien insects and parasites are threatening whole species of our native trees.
If there is a crisis in the forest today, it's not connected to forest management. The crisis in the forest today is invasive species, and I'm thinking about historically and what we're seeing on the landscape today. Chestnut blight from the late 1800s, early 1900s, Dutch elm disease, white pine blister rust, butternut canker, beech bark disease, emerald ash borer, and now among wildlife, white nose syndrome in bats. These are all alien invasive problems.
All of these things are very distressful to people, and I think in our lifetime we'll have seen a shift of our forest, not because of forest management, but because of forces that are kind of almost seemingly beyond our control. And I think that is a rallying call for all of us to work together.
The need to work together and share perspectives and educate each other has never been greater than right now.